All right. And we are live in the Facebook and YouTube channel for Level Up Your SaaS. We have Nathan Hirsch here. Wanted to talk a little bit about VAs this week. Hiring, maybe some FAQs. If you guys have them, please drop them in the chat. And like how to have a successful onboarding of a VA, maybe we could talk about. And then I'll let Nathan, he has a great background, introduce himself and like about his background and like how he brings value to the table.
Yeah, Jenna, thanks for having me, and excited to be here. So my claim to fame, so to speak, is I built a $12 million a year business, and two sides. One, I started it with $5,000, and I was able to do that because I hired VAs to start the company. But B, when we sold the company 4 years later, and it was doing 12 million, we had no office, no US employees. So the entire business was run by virtual assistants, and someone bought the business at a good valuation, even though there were no US employees and no office. So before that, I ran an Amazon business completely run by VAs. And then now I run a bunch of businesses that are not completely run, but they're 99% virtual assistants. I own Outsource School, which teaches people how to hire. We have 2 bookkeeping businesses. The VAs are in the Philippines, or the bookkeepers are in the Philippines, although we do have a Denver team as well. And then we have Trio SEO, which is kind of a combination of US and non-US people. So yeah, I mean, I hire a lot of VAs. I think Outsource School is one of the best hiring processes out there. We can talk about that. And onboarding is definitely something that most entrepreneurs miss. And for my just overall mentality is hiring is the key to business. If you're really good at hiring, it's going to make up for a lot of other flaws and lack of skills that you have. And if you're bad at hiring, it's something that's always going to hold you back. And there's very few 7-figure, 8-figure solo entrepreneurs out there. It usually doesn't exist. You're going to have to hire one way or another, and you're either going to hire early or too late. And I always prefer to hire early. So I'll kind of let you take it away, and happy to jump around and hopefully add some value.
Yeah, so if we could start with like just some what are some things that you see that people like, maybe when it comes to VAs, that like right away you're like, this is a huge onboarding mistake?
Yeah. So before we talk about onboarding, I just want to kind of, because you mentioned mistakes. So before that, there's 3 levels of people that you can hire. You've got followers, you've got doers, and you've got experts. So when I'm talking about virtual assistants, I'm talking about followers. They might have years of experience. I might hire a VA with 10 years of customer service experience, but the way someone else does customer service is different than how I do customer service. I need to have SOPs. I need to teach them my way to do something. The doers, they're freelancers, writers, graphic designers, video editors. I'm not teaching someone to be a graphic designer, but they're not consulting with me either. They're there to do that one thing at a high level, and I'm hiring them project-based. I can bring them company to company. I can build a Rolodex of different designers to go to for different things, but that's what the doers are. And then the experts, the agencies, consultants, coaches, whatever, they come in with their own systems, their own processes. You're not teaching them your SOP. They come in with their own thing, because you can't master everything in business. And at some point, you're going to have to hire an expert to come in with their skill set. So when we're talking about onboarding, this is strictly for hiring virtual assistants, hiring the followers. And for me, there's four stages of hiring that we talk about in Outsource School. So there's interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. So if we've already done the interview, and we can go back and talk about that if you want, when you're onboarding them, we call it our SICK method, SICC. And that stands for schedule, issues, communication, and culture. And this is a 20-minute meeting, could be a little longer, could be a little less, that you have after you've had a good interview, but before they start on day one. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs, that they skip this step. And every time you hear that horror story of that VA disappearing, or the VA doesn't have the right communication skills, or they have a computer issues all the time, it's almost always because the entrepreneur did not spend the time to actually onboard this virtual assistant. And when we're onboarding them, we're going through schedule. For example, if I'm asking them to work the graveyard shift, have they ever worked it before? Is there anything that could get in the way? I'm going through common issues that people have with VAs. Computer issues. Do they have a backup computer? Power issues. Do they have a backup generator? Personal issues. Are they one personal issue away from not being able to work for a month? And I'm setting the expectation that, hey, if you lose power or if you lose internet or if your computer breaks, it's not, hey, I can't work for the next 2 months. It's no, you're going somewhere to work, or you're borrowing a computer, whatever it is. We go through communication and the different channels we use, making sure we have a backup and emergency contact information. And we go through the culture that they're going to get into. Every business culture is different. You might be a little bit more cutthroat or relaxed or high stress or whatever it is. And you want someone to know what they're getting into. So after we've gone through these things and we've dug deeper and made sure that they have these backups and they understand the schedule and all of that, we give them a chance to not only ask questions, but also back out. We would much rather the person says, hey, your expectations are too high. This culture isn't really what I want. Actually, I thought about it. The schedule probably won't work for me long term. We want that. We would rather the person backs out than to take the job. We invest time, money, and effort into them only to find out 3 months later that their computer's crummy or the schedule doesn't work.
For sure. Yeah. I love how you laid that out. And like you have it so systematized.
Yeah, we try to make it plug and play, and that's kind of the beauty of outsource school is like we've got people in there who've hired 500 plus VAs, but they're missing onboarding, so they take the onboarding and plug it in. Or you get someone new, like I was back in the day, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was making up interview questions on the spot. I didn't really have a hiring process. I definitely didn't know how to run meetings or fire someone, and it's just step by step. Hey, if this situation happens, this is what you do. These are the questions you ask in what order. These are the answers you're looking for. This is how you fire someone. Step 1, 2, 3. You're fired. You tell the team, and that's how we tried to lay it out.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, let's go back. The first step you mentioned, the interview process. What are some things that you see people missing out on that spot?
Yeah, so we like acronyms. The interview is CARE. So it's communication, attitude, red flags, and experience. And this is kind of what you're up against. People know how to interview. I once took a college class how to interview. Didn't teach me how to do any job well. It just taught me how to answer interview questions. So people are going to BS you during interviews. So if you're looking for the right answers, you're going to get the right answers all the time. You need to be looking for the wrong answers, the red flags. What is this person telling me that shows me they don't have the communication I need, they don't have the attitude I need, or they don't have the experience that I need? And we're looking for the trifecta of skill, attitude, and communication. Normally, if you reflect on every bad hire you've ever made, and I'm sure you've made bad hires, I've made bad hires, people watching have made bad hires, they probably either didn't have the skill they said they had a terrible attitude, or they just couldn't communicate, or two or all three of those things applied. So it's very rare when you find that trifecta being like, hey, they had great communication, great attitude, great skill set, but they just didn't work out. You rarely hear that. So you're looking for that trifecta, and your interview questions should be designed to dig deeper and look for those red flags. If you're hiring someone for a developer role, just saying that because leveling up your SaaS, and they're supposed to have senior developer experience, and you're asking them questions and their answers don't reflect that, maybe you don't stop the interview right away, although you could, but you at least have to dig deeper into the red flags and be like, hey, what am I missing here? Like, why does your experience not match your resume? Same thing for communication. If we preach Slack interviews a lot, unless it's a video role. But if the person's taking forever to respond on Slack, what's the reason behind it? Am I not being clear? Is your internet poor? Do you not speak English well? Like there's always that red flag that you just need to dive into more. So we're looking for that trifecta of skill, attitude, and experience. Skill, attitude, experience, and attitude. Just because we didn't touch on that, like we want people who like building. We want people who are passionate about what they do. They love being a customer service rep as much as I love being an entrepreneur. We don't want people who are just in it for the money, just in it for the paycheck, just in it for stability. We want someone who wants to grow. So we're looking for a very specific type of person that if we have this team of builders and growers and doers and people that have bought in, and then we add someone to the team who doesn't really want that and they're just there to collect a paycheck and go home, that's not going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Having that person on your team that says, oh, okay, what can I do next? And they're proactive instead of just reactive, I think is so important.
Right. And every company's a little different. Like if you have really good SOPs, you might want someone who just has really good attention to detail. If you're newer and you're still building your SOPs, you might want someone who has experience with SOPs in the past. You can come in and take your SOPs and make them even better and take ownership of that. So depending on where you are, you might be looking for things a little differently.
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody this last week, and she was explaining to me like, "Hey, Jenna, I'm so busy. I am slammed in my agency, and I have 5 kids, and so on. And bringing on and training a VA is just overwhelming to me. Like, and I have to go through and interview them and all this stuff, and I don't even know where to start with offloading my tasks. Do you like? What would you say to that person? Like, if you were sitting here with them?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way around it. I have a funny
Yeah.
story where I was in that position. I was running this Amazon business and I was doing really well and I loved my job. I was working, I was in college, so I didn't have kids, but I had other responsibilities, classes, and all of that.
Yeah.
And I met with an accountant for the first time to pay taxes. And he asked me, when are you going to hire your first person? I was like, I don't have time to do that. Like, that's money
Yeah.
out of my pocket. They're going to steal my ideas. They're going to hurt my business. Like all the classic excuses. And he just laughed in my face and said, you're going to learn this lesson on your own. Sure enough, my first busy season comes around, Cyber Monday, Black Friday. People are buying a lot on Amazon, and I just get destroyed. I'm working 20 hours a day. I wanted to quit. I somehow made it through over the next 6 weeks to make it to the new year. And I just learned a valuable lesson. I said, I can never let that happen again. I need to start hiring people. So it's not going to get better. Like the longer you delay it, it's only going to get worse. And you're just going
Yes.
to reach a stage of burnout or mistakes are going to be made, whatever it is. So that's really why we created Outsource School, because you got to build processes for all parts of your business, right? You need a bookkeeping and finance process. You need a marketing process, but you also need a hiring process. And if you don't have time to build it, that's where you can just take Outsource School's processes, interview questions ready to go, onboarding questions ready to go. You just put people through it. And we also just designed it to be as quick as possible. Like you don't want to be doing 2-hour interviews with every applicant. If you interview 2 people, like that's your most of your week right there. So everything is designed to be 20, 30-minute onboarding, 20, 30-minute interviews. Meetings are short and efficient. I talk fast, I move fast. Like I want everything to just be as efficient as humanly possible.
Yeah. But have you seen, like, I guess if somebody hasn't hired yet, and they're like super nervous about it, is there one thing or key part of a business that you say, since you have so much experience in this field, that you're like, oh, this is a great first hire, like to help you with this as an agency?
Yeah. So again, understand those levels. That's key.
Yeah.
And then your first hire, try to make it something that isn't mission critical, that isn't going to destroy
Yeah.
your business if something goes wrong. An example I give, because I go on a lot of podcasts and show like this, is if you want to market your business more and you've never really hired, hire a VA to pitch you to go on podcasts and Facebook Lives and webinars. Absolute worst case scenario, they don't get you on any podcasts, and
Yeah.
you're going to be fine. And right, you're spending $5 an hour, or whatever it is. It'll cost you a little money, a little time, no big deal. But you're going to learn so much from that experience, and it's going to give you a lot of confidence to hire people for better roles. Now, in a more likely situation, you're probably going to figure out how to get this person to pitch podcasts for you. They're going to get you on podcasts, and then you're going to feel more confident in hiring and maybe be able to give them or another VA more and more roles. If you think of like everything in your business in this list, you want to start with the easiest tasks and work your way up, just like you would do in anything else.
I love that. Yeah. Start with the easy tasks that are, non-emergent tasks, and growing from there. That's kind of what I've done with this VA that I have now. So I love that you said that. It kind of solidifies in my mind that I maybe did the right thing.
Yeah.
So I've been using like a couple different VAs agencies in the past, and like, so this is my first, like, I guess, internal VA hire. So it's been a different feel, but I've been liking it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you didn't
It's
really ask
definitely
this
growth on
question,
my
but
end.
if you also think of like 3 different places you can hire for, you've got the direct hire, which is usually cheaper, although there's no one there to kind of have your back or if anything goes wrong, and you
Yeah.
might go through more applicants. You've got more of the marketplaces like FreeUp, OnlineJobs.ph, Upwork. going to be a little bit more expensive. You're going to have to go through some people, but there's benefits because they're going to have profiles. They're going to have reviews. You're going to have some kind of delay in payments in case anything goes wrong. And then you've got the agencies, which is the most expensive. And if you hire a good agency, could be great, but you're also at the mercy of how good are they at teaching their people? How good are they at treating their people well? You could end up in a situation where you did everything right. You treated them well, but they're not treating them well on their end. And then you're out of luck. So just some things to keep in mind. You can grow a business in a lot of different ways, but they each have their pros and cons.
Yeah. How were you finding most of your VAs? I mean, I know you had FreeUp, so that was probably like a huge thing. But outside of that, what you were using Slack, I heard you say. That's kind of interesting for your hiring process.
Yeah, Slack we were using for the interviews, not to find the VAs. But yeah, I mean, I still use FreeUp. I like FreeUp. Obviously, I'm biased. We
Yeah.
use Facebook groups now and have a good filter there. So like when we're hiring bookkeepers, I've got 25 bookkeeping Facebook groups. I've kind of made friends with the owners and I'll post jobs there. That can work. Like there's a lot of different like Upwork and Fiverr Facebook groups. And yeah, we'll still use onlinejobs.ph, Upwork. It just depends what we're hiring for. The absolute best way that you'll eventually get to is referrals. Now I have so many VAs I know that I like, that I've worked with before, that I've placed in other businesses, that I can go and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you know anyone? And that's my favorite. I'd rather get a referral over anything else.
Nice. And is there a different hiring? Like you probably put them through the same sort of system, like whether it's referral or through a Facebook group, I assume.
Yeah, it's the same process. Yeah. Same outsource school, interview, onboard, train, and manage step by step.
Very cool. Any other tips for people who are just kind of starting out in their like VA search?
Yeah, so you want the VA to prove themselves to you. You don't want to just hire them and then just teach them 10 different things.
Right.
First of all, VAs do better if they're focused on like one or two things. And you want to avoid like the crazy cross training. Like some people are like, oh, I want a graphic designer that also does bookkeeping. Like that stuff like that doesn't exist. So hire someone for a specific role, try to keep them in that role, but you want to value your time at the highest level too. So when you're training someone, train someone on the easiest task for that role and have them prove they can do those tasks before you give them more. Now, best case scenario, I've had people that started off with easy tasks in my inbox and they later became team leaders. And that didn't happen overnight, but they slowly proved they can handle every little thing. And training is no different, and hiring freelancers is no different. If I'm hiring a freelancer or an agency to do my website, I'm going to say, hey, do one page, show it to me, listen to my feedback, show me that you can actually adjust my feedback. It's no different. This applies in all business. If I'm hiring a lawyer to do 5 different agreements, I'm not just going to pay them a bunch of money and say, hey, do all these agreements. If this is a brand new attorney, I'm going to say, let's do one agreement. Let's make sure that we like working together and that this actually gets done the way that I want to get done. And then when that works, I'll give you 1 or 2 more. And then same thing applies. So treat your VAs in the same way. Don't load them up with everything. You don't want that unicorn VA that just runs your entire business. If that person quits on you, you're screwed. It's impossible to find and replace. You want to diversify, keep people in their roles, and have them prove themselves over time to give them more and more responsibility.
Yeah. And then any other thoughts or ideas you have on like, okay, I'm at this level now. She's doing really well. Maybe this is the time when I should hire again?
Yeah, I mean, budget is definitely a factor there. For me, those initial hires are so key that you make in your business. With any hires we make, we want them to be team leaders. It's so much easier to promote from within and to have veterans in your company that have been there from day one, that get it, who have been there through the building. It's not impossible, but it's definitely not my preference to go find Bob from outside the company, bring him in, and then tell my whole team, okay, you now work for Bob. He's leading you. It can be done. It's just not my personal favorite thing to do. So those initial people you hire, you need to make sure they want to be leaders in the future, not right away. They want to be able to manage people and that they're going to buy into the company and help build. And as you build a bigger and bigger team, you're going to count on these people to speak up when you make new hires, whether they're doing good or bad. If I hire someone now, my bookkeeping team leaders or my outsourcing team leaders or my Trio SEO team leaders, they're going to know very quickly whether this person's doing a good or bad job, whether they have the right attitude. They don't want to work with someone that has a bad attitude. They want someone who's going to care about the business as much as they do. So getting those initial hires to buy in and getting them to that team leader role is key. And it's going to make all the rest of your hiring way easier.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, you saying that all kind of like sparks a question in my mind. So, and earlier you mentioned on the interview call, like somebody might have a really great like attitude. Excuse me. But then maybe is there any way you screen that? Because I guess like anybody could put on a great attitude for an interview. Is there like a some sort of, I guess I don't want to say test, but like feedback that you have for like, oh, this person, um do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we have questions in the interview process that try to find out like what they're all about, what they care about, what they do in their free time, why they left past companies, stuff like that. That will kind of dive into it. But yeah, I mean, sure, someone can always just BS your way entirely through the interview, but then you
Yeah.
want safeguards in place when you start working with them, and that's why you want to stop things early before you invest a lot of time and energy into someone. If someone's been an A player with me for a year and then all of a sudden their performance starts to lack, I'm going to stop work. I'm going to see what's going on. And it might be a personal issue that needs to be resolved or something. If someone's showing issues in day 1 or 2, I'm probably just going to cut bait with them and get someone else. So you have to understand that and kind of value your time at a high level as well. So yeah, you will be able to vet most of it during interview, during onboarding. And then the rare case that they make it through that, you want to figure that out in that first week or two.
Yeah, that's great. And then um so somebody suggested to me a while back, give them like a little test maybe within your agency of something that you do somewhat often. Um would you suggest like paid or not paid on that?
Yeah, we've done both. It just depends on what it is, what the role is. Yeah, we've done either way. Like bookkeeping, for
Okay.
example, we have so essentially our vetting for it is we have all this type form they fill out because we're posting the job anywhere everywhere and we're getting a lot of applicants. And then the
Yeah.
people that we like those answers, they take a bookkeeping test because we don't want to spend time interviewing them on Slack if they're not good at bookkeeping. So it
Right.
makes sense for us to do, and we're not going to pay people to like fail a bookkeeping test. So we do that way, and then we do the Slack interview afterwards. For hiring writers for true SEO, we're actually going to use the writing that they do, assuming they're not using AI or something. That would be a situation that we wouldn't pay them. But usually it's paid tests where even if we don't hire them, we're still going to use the article. We'll pay them for it. We'll tweak up the article before it goes live. But yeah, so it really depends. You can go either way. You will get higher quality applicants for most jobs if you do paid tests, but there's also like an industry standard for certain things as well. Like bookkeeping, very common for you to have to show that you're a good bookkeeper before you get an interview. Writing, most people aren't saying like, write me free articles and then maybe I'll hire
Right.
you. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just evaluate the key role that you're searching for and then decide from there.
Right.
I like that. That's cool. Well, everybody, I have some free resources that Nathan has given us, and so I'll post them in the group and on the YouTube channel. Is there anything else we should know, Nathan,
No, if
about
you go
like
to
you and your companies that you do?
yeah, I mean, my favorite free resource, outsourceschool.com/organic marketing. It's the exact organic marketing blueprint that we run in all our portfolio of companies. It's all done by virtual assistants, 99% VAs. So feel free to grab that. I have a few different businesses. I have Outsource School, which is our membership where you get access to our hiring process and all of our SOPs. So you don't have to make them yourself. I have accountsbalance.com, which is a monthly bookkeeping service for agencies and SaaS. So if you're looking for a monthly bookkeeping service, check that out. And then I have an SEO service, Trio SEO, pumping out high quality blog articles every single month to help you get customers and traffic. So check those out and feel free to connect with me, Nathan Hirsch, on social media and YouTube.
Do you also do white label stuff for the SEO as well?
We do not do white label stuff for the SEO.
Is so it's just like somebody comes and buys an article off your site and then you send it?
Nope, it's monthly. So you
Okay.
sign up for us to put out 8, 10, 15, whatever articles you pay each month. We're doing keyword research. We're putting a strategy behind it. And if you check out any of our blogs, outsourceschool.com/blog, ecombalance.com/blog, whatever website you go to, it's the exact same thing that we do for our blogs that we would do for your blog.
So are you posting them for them or are you just giving them like Google Docs?
We have two packages. The biggest package is we will do everything. We'll do strategy, keyword research, write the articles, and upload them for you on your site. And then the one below that, we'll do the keyword research strategy, and we'll give you outlines, and then you can give them to your writers. You can give them to AI, whatever you want to do, and then you upload them to your site.
Oh, that's cool. What a neat little service.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for joining us here today. We'll go ahead and end the live, and let us know if you have any questions in the comments below. And thanks so much for coming on with us, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome.